Hey guys, welcome back to Globetrotter Gaming. Today we'll be moving on to part 14 of our gameplay of Suzerain. Let's get going. So in the last part, we went to the funeral of the guy who was shot at the, I believe it was the inauguration ball, and I definitely really tried to promote a message of unity despite the political differences, because that seems like kind of something that needs to be done with a lot of the stories that we're developing and the prior parts here. So yeah, let's try to hopefully move on to something a little more upbeat in this part. If I go to the news, I'm sure it's going to probably have that. So, yep. That's, Yep, here we go. So, yeah, it's really trying to hopefully paint our guy in good light here. Yeah, President Rayne gave a unifying message to all of Sordland. President Rayne's last farewell to Bernard Circus. Thousands attend. Rumberg closes consulate. Alright, anywho, so yeah, it seems like overall the media, was talking about unity, so the message definitely was made there. So let's see what we have over in Lockhaven. So, briefing on the current diplomatic situation. So this will hopefully kind of expand the board, as I want to say a little bit, and hopefully start to talk about more foreign relations things, because I'm looking forward to doing more things that are just, beyond just kind of talking. So let's see what we have here. So, the Blue Mansion in Lockhaven hosted us for the important diplomacy gathering. The door opened, and David... Is that David or David? I'm not sure how to say that. David Wishy, once a lecturer to me, now the Minister of Foreign Affairs, gently made his way towards my desk. I'm gonna guess, just based on how a lot of these other parts went, because, I mean, we had the introduction in, like, economics, political, media, so on. This is probably gonna be kind of like an intro to foreign policy, I'm guessing. And also, like, a chance for us to establish our foreign policy, too. So, may I sit down, Mr. President? Leave the formalities aside, David. Please take a seat. Of course, it's a pleasure to see you. Gesture at the chair. I'll say that there. Likewise, we've so much of us ahead of us to accomplish. He slowly sat down, taking care not to aggravate the arthritis in his knees. He'd always had an air of gravitas about him, and in old age it only served to deepen that. After he settled himself, he regarded me with delight, his blue eyes sparkling. Look at you, Anton, the 4th president of Sordland. What a privilege. I still remember the first day you took first day you took my class at the Lockhaven School of Economics. Somehow, the inexplicable ebb and flow of life has led us here, to positions where we can change the course of history. Everything happens for a reason, David. It was meant to be. We got a little lucky. This is our opportunity to shape the future, and we will do precisely that. I'm gonna say that one. It looks to the future, not the past. I am looking forward to our new foreign policy. I am looking forward to present you the latest bill I am working on. The TCPA has turned out to be an initiative that can significantly boost our tourism and culture. I think I can explain what the TCPA is. This is untapped value. This untapped value would help us internationally to promote our position. I am convinced it can also help improve our economic condition after discussions with Minister Hole and Manger. The GNA and USP factions are supportive too. I really shouldn't have done overtime hours to get it done, but I really care for a position and the value of our cult this time for longer. Uh-oh, this guy doesn't sound good. Would you like some tea or water? How's your health? Let's start talking about foreign policy. Let's say, how's your health? Oh, I haven't had any big complications except the usual, after the heart attack earlier this year. The health complications aren't a hindrance to my work, of course, but thanks for asking. I don't really show I care about this guy, because it seems like he's got a smart guy. One should care about him, obviously, but it seems like a smart guy that'll be very beneficial, too, just at least on the background and everything going forward with him. How's the Rayne family? We're slowly starting to get used to the routine. Monica's really taking the First Lady, and Frank never likes the spotlight. I'm just going to say slowly starting to get used to the routine. As time passes, I realize it more. Family is the most important thing in life. We must take care of them. The door opened, and Yosef and Lucian joined us for the briefing as the tall case clock hit the hour mark. Petter, however, was missing. I wonder if he was still late from all the drinking he did at the party in Lockhaven. We'll talk more later, President Rayne. Welcome, everyone. How was your travel to Lockhaven? Let's begin. Yeah, we'll just do that. Just be friendly to everyone. A little bumpy due to some turbulence. I arrived via a military cargo plane that landed at Lockhaven International. Hopefully, we can still go over stuff with David there, because I feel like he was going to go on something important there, but I, didn't want to brush aside when he was coughing a bunch. I took the train. It was a little slow, but I can still recommend it for the beautiful landscape. I also had the possibility to work on a couple things during the ride. Well then, since Mr. Vector doesn't seem to be coming today, I think we're ready to start. Hopefully that's not a bad sign there, with Petter just not showing up. I will start by providing a brief overview of our current status with our neighbors. What would you like to start with? Okay, good. At least he is going over more. I'd like to hear about Agnolia. I want to know about Vagsland. Or what's the latest situation in Wayland? I'm going to say Agnolia, because I think that was the northern one that we're trying to build that highway to connect to. Our brotherly nation to the northeast, yep, that's it. They are still diplomatically not aligned, and probably is one of the most democratic systems between our neighbors. Economic stagnation is a worry for them. Their primary issue is their heavy reliance on foreign investment from us. Agnolia is our most friendly neighbor. We have been allies for the longest time after Rumburg annexed Dome. This fact needs to be part of the equation. Okay, yeah, so I guess that's probably good why I still went that highway to, really try to benefit our, friendly neighbors there. Unsurprisingly, the Agnolian Prime Minister, Martin van Hoorten, is expecting better cooperation through a new, fairer trade deal with us. It was one of his election mandates. We'll think about his request. The matter's still on the table. A more comprehensive trade deal sounds beneficial to all sides. We should maintain the existing agreement. We can't lose our advantage. I'm going to say that, because I really want to try to promote, good trade between both of them. So, probably should look more into it, but, I'm trying to be good allies with them here. Both sides would gain from it, but Agnolia has more to win than us. They want to protect their weaker industries, which we are profiting from selling our goods to. Additionally, the latest numbers indicate that currently 1 million Agno-Sordish citizens live in the Agnon region. I don't even know how to say that. Agnon region of Sordland. That's hard to say. Which creates a link between foreign policy and our internal affairs. These people have suffered socioeconomically, which led them to crime and other problems. In addition, a relaxed immigration policy was one of Agnolia's main requests, which is unacceptable. Most of the migrants in our country haven't even assimilated into Sordish culture. Adding more won't help. I'm supportive of relaxed or skeptical. I'm going to say skeptical. I want to try to, not bring an extra... Not saying immigrants cause any problems, definitely not what I'm saying there, but I'm trying to keep it, relatively strict for now. You should be. We've already witnessed several societies shifting waves of migration. We should remember that we promised to tighten our immigration laws in the election campaign. I want to know more about Vagsland. What's the latest situation? I'm going to say Wayland, because that seems like something, drastic's going on there. So what's the latest situation in Wayland? It's tumultuous in the south, as always. Victor Smolak is expanding his powers among protests from Wejek people. However, he is quite positive about a normalization of relationship between our countries. Despite purging the Wejek communists, reports indicate that they have been warming up to Canton international aid. What's Canton again? United Canton is like the Soviet Union of this game. As you know, Wayland's stability was always a concern for the region. But if we want to help them, we must not treat refugees like we did in the 30s. I can't stomach the inhumanity these people suffered. A trade agreement with them would improve stability and increase mutual trade. Why help such a disorganized state? Not sure what we can do to help them. Sordland paid enough by housing millions of refugees during the Wayland Civil War. No more. This is a hard decision. Let me see, does it even have, the details of Wayland? Presidential Republic. The Wejek Nationalist Party. I'm gonna say a trade agreement might be good there. See what they say. There will be many bargaining chips discussed, but Wayland could be a new partner in the region. We would also invest in stability there. I feel like, I don't know, I want to see how things go with it. I'm sure it's not any decisions now. Our main goal should be avoid a refugee crisis like the 20s. That civil war had major security and economic repercussions. One of the demands of President Smolak was to tighten our immigration laws, so the political refugees don't escape to Sordland. There's been a recent purge that pushed many Blutish to flee to Bergia. It is definitely troubling. Gumrin Outpost has regained its importance due to this. I'm sure you'd remember that winter at the border outpost, Mr. President. He was right, I did remember. I remember how cold it was when I let the refugees slip through. I was discharging my duties by Major Joseph Lancia, no less spending the rest of my service cleaning toilets and sleeping in a cell. In fact, there had even been a civil refugee situation in the past. Even Mr. President himself chose to disobey direct orders from his commanding officer. This Lancia guy is definitely seems like he's going to probably turn into an enemy. Or like he's going to try to stage a coup or something like that. I was young and made a mistake. Past is past. Let's move on. And he made me sleep in a prison cell for it. I never forget that. I did what was right. Now I'm going to say that. Soldiers do not decide on what is right. Soldiers do what they are told to do. And technically I'm this guy's, or our character is this guy's commander-in-chief, so he probably should do the same there. He opened his mouth to continue, but David cut in. Our focus should be on the current matters. The Blutish minority is very large inside Wayland too, which is a factor to consider. It is in our national interest to prevent the formation of a failed state on our western border. Wayland is becoming increasingly aligning itself towards the Communist Alliance, another point to analyze. And let's just see about Valgsland, too. Let's see where that one is. It's a socialist republic situated in the island of Valgos and several small islands. Our cousins of old across the Marquian Sea wish to have good relations with us. As we know, Valgsland is a socialist republic aligned with United Cantana. They are an important regional player. It is also the most significant sea power in almost all of Mercopa. It is the only country that can rival the superpowers with their navy. We have had hostile relations with them after several wars, which we wouldn't want to experience again. Recently, the relationship has warmed up thanks to Emmerich Hegel. As a result, diplomatic talks can be conducted in the future. It is not easy to forget about the Great Fire of Conriat. Thousands of lives were lost. Breaking the ice with Valgsland could be good if we are to rise diplomatically. We shouldn't take any sides between the regional powers. And I'm going to say that there. You know, it seems like a country where we don't want to piss off, what's it called? I forget, Arcasia or whatever, like the big capitalist country we're trying to align with, but also Valgsland seems like, given the proximity, it's probably good to at least be civil with them. I agree they could be potential allies, in my opinion. The situation in the region necessitates we find allies. They have been in good standing with us for the past 200 years. Recently, they have also joined the Communist Cantanan Security Pact, subjugating themselves to United Cantana. On top of that, territorial issues have been flaring up between Agnolia and Valgsland because of the Helgeland Island. The Sordish Navy is very concerned with this volatile situation. Lucian looks slightly worried. Unfortunately, billions of Sordish Ren worth of cargo is transported close to Valgslandian maritime borders on the Marquian Sea and the Grey Strait. This causes significant risk to our imports and exports in the case of deterioration in relations. The strait is of high strategic value to us. Yeah, I'm going to say that there. Yosef, the Navy's keeping an eye on the situation from a distance, right? We are actively monitoring the sea routes and cargo ships. For now, there is no immediate threat, but we don't know what can happen. Let's move on. The two most important neighboring countries remain, Lesbia and Rumburg. Which would you like to hear about first? I'd say Rumburg. I think that's the one that's like a monarchy or something. The most troublesome nation, Rumburg, a constitutional monarchy led by Queen Beatrice Livingston. I highly advise caution and calculated action against Rumburg. Our military might be prepared, the threat is real, or must be prepared. They are strong and have the motivation, as well as the means to damage us. We shouldn't give them any reasons to pursue aggression. I will take your advice in consideration. Rumburg is and always will be a rogue-like stake. Nothing can be done about them. We must prevent them from interfering in our affairs. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, it seems like one where it'll be TBD down the road, see how things go with them, but yeah, we don't need to mess with them right now. These types of nations will always try to make up a casus belli, a reason to declare war. While Thornborough openly denies such claims, their past and current actions make it clear they want to destabilize us. Their weapons cakes found by our intelligence agency clearly show what their goals are. Our military must be steadfast and our diplomacy valiant. This is very dramatic there from Yosef. Yosef looks stern and full of resolve. Yeah, this guy... I still don't trust this guy here. The Rumburg threat is one of our top priorities, you can be assured of that. I think the threat is too far overblown. I'm going to say that there. I still want to try to maintain more civil relations with them, but we'll just say that. We're always in dialogue with our Rumburg ambassador to make sure channel is open to solve disputes. And we could use their aggressive attitudes against them by convincing the international community Lucian grabbed the Lockhaven Times newspaper and put his finger on the article about the latest diplomatic incident. Their abrupt announcement about the closure of the Rumburg consulate in Lockhaven is yet another step in their escalation. What about Lesbia? Our southern neighbor is aligning itself more and more with Arcasia. Lesbia is currently led by Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez. They are the jewel of the continent and the second largest economy in Maricopa. Though wealthy, Lesbia suffers from excessive economic inequality. Our past relations have been great, but during the last decade, their investments to Sordland dwindled due to our instability. Aligning with the richest regional nation could be beneficial. Lesbia is a sleepy giant, we should not awake them. They keep turning a blind eye towards the region, thinking that Lesbia is above all. I'm going to say allying with the richest regional nation could be beneficial. Lesbia seems like a country where, especially if I'm trying to ally with Arcasia, Lesbia seems like one we want to maintain really good terms with, because I think that they could benefit our country and, you know, make it beneficial for both sides. It could be, but it would also mean that we would draw closer to the Arcasia bloc and near the Arcasian Treaty Organization. I'm fine with that. I'm certain that the recession has a lot to do with the retraction of investments. Once they see that money isn't in the picture, they vanish rather quickly because they are capitalists. They've showed a selfish attitude during the Wayland Civil War by closing their borders and funneling refugees to cross into Sordland. Lucian cleared his throat. Our values are too different with Lesbia. It will be hard to see eye to eye. The capitalism of Lesbia is inspirational to me. Look at their economic power. I'm going to say that there, just because, again, I'm trying to make my guy kind of a free market capitalist. I think that will be what we want to promote there. Everything comes at a cost. In Lesbia, the cost is wealth inequality, but business people are getting richer and richer. There are hundreds of very privileged oligarchs who invest inside and outside of Lesbia. Some made significant business investments in the cities of Benfey and Valgan. Are those in Sordland? Oh no, these are... Oh no, I think these are still in Lesbia. Oh no, Benfey's in Sordland. So this covers the overview of the current situation. We move on to our trade choice and the response to Rumburg's diplomatic escalation. The sun began to set over the hills surrounding Lockhaven. The team is ready to give advice on the new trade initiative in response to the latest diplomatic incident with Rumburg. Pat arrived late. He looked a little rougher than usual. It must have been the drinking from last night. Hey there, folks. Excuse my delay. I'm sure I didn't miss anything we didn't already know. You were supposed to be part of this meeting an hour ago. Punctuality's important. We're talking about serious subjects. Petter was assigned a task from me. That is why he's late. They have a point, Petter. We should have discipline. Don't comment. I'm gonna say that there. Petter's done a lot for our guy, so I'm gonna just, try to cover him up there. Ah, yes, it went successfully, sir. Petter's tone was more serious. Expect a report on your desk tomorrow. The Vice President will be part of the trade delegation, so it'll be great to have his input on that subject as well as on the Rumburg incident. Rumburg Consul Sir Bran Harrington announced the closure of the 120-year-old consulate. Now the diplomatic staff is leaving the city to go back to Thornborough. He blamed the lack of security in Sordland due to the assassination and the subsequent protests, but it's obvious they're making excuses. Bastards. First they close the consulate, then they blame our security? The security situation is under control. They're playing with us. Their concerns could be genuine, but this reaction is unnecessary. I'm going to say that. Agreed. Our other diplomatic missions have worked with our security units to increase the protection of staff and buildings. The neglect of President Alfonso and the chaos of the elections delayed our diplomatic efforts. Now there are only 2 Rumburg diplomatic missions left in Sordland, the consulate in Dare and the embassy in Holsword. We are accustomed to the usual rhetoric, but this is far more serious. I must display strength to my people. We can't be pushed around. They're bluffing. We're used to it now. I'm gonna say that there. They're playing with fire. Look at what the Wayland destabilization has done to the region. Sordland breaking apart would tear Maricopa apart. In my entire career, I've never even seen our Rumburg relations suffer this much. The previous low point was the annexation of Dome. What even is that? An event that occurred in the 20s between border tensions between Magnolia and Rumburg. Alright. Joseph Lancey was furious. He barely kept himself from slamming the desk. There are worrying developments like smuggled arms and the build-up near the border. Our military must be buffed to stand up against a great power like Rumburg. We can either respond to this aggressive act with diplomatic condemnation, or we can retaliate by closing our consulate in Dome. I want to say that an escalation would be risky this early in our presidency. We should focus on creating a negative image of Rumburg in the international scene. The people of Sordland must be protected, no matter the cost. I say we respond equally. So, we can close the Continent Dome, write an official diplomatic response condemning this unreasonable act. I'm going to say a diplomatic response. I think, I don't want to stick to, doing anything that potentially, like, I don't want to do, like, what do they call it, like a tit-for-tat type thing there, so I'm just going to do an official diplomatic response, make it stern, establish our guys, kind of his stance on foreign policy, but doesn't do anything too aggressive there, so I think that will be good. Declare that Rumburg aims to destabilize Sordland and the region. As you wish, Mr. President, I shall begin work by immediately informing the Ministry. Swaying the international stage is the key in long-term strategy. I wish we'd reacted more strongly. If we don't confront them, they will keep escalating the situation. See, this guy I feel like is trying to really kind of draw them into an unnecessary war there, and I really think just trying to play like kind of long-term chess is, exactly the game we need to play with this. I, on the other hand, am glad that we're taking the more cautious road. There are 3 trade-related topics to address today. Which topic should we tackle first? Trade negotiations with our neighbors Wayland and Agnolia. I'm interested in hearing the intentions of the Kingdom of Rizia. Let's talk about Wayland and Agnolia. Our primary goal will be to successfully sign at least one trade agreement with our smaller neighbors. We have 2 options with our trade initiative, starting new negotiations with our old partner Agnolia to the northeast, or forming a new cooperation with Wayland. I'm going to try to open the door to Wayland. I feel like Agnolia, we built that whole highway, that's going to kind of start that. I want to try to, help Wayland in terms of, or in hopes that they'll make the southwest border a little more stable then. Dealing with a fractured country like Wayland has its positives and negatives. Although it will be lucrative in the short term, there are risks associated with dealing with such a country. They are proposing co-investment projects in a no-tariff agreement. They're also offering oil in return for attracting foreign capital investments, or interests, excuse me. However, it is possible that there will be international ramifications of getting closer with a country like Wayland. All in all, this is a very lucrative deal for us. However, we need to think about the consequences. I certainly don't support the decision. We carried their burdens for decades. I don't care about Yosef. This guy's kind of annoying me right now. Maintaining influence with Wayland could prove useful. Yes, it is risky, but I think about our influence on an underdeveloped region like that. We could also sell more products and enter their market easily. I am of the opinion that it's simply too risky. Yes, we would gain resources, but I'm afraid of the consequences. You know what? I'm gonna say the return is too lucrative. I'm gonna go with that there. Well, I'm gonna try to do kind of a minor, if I have options, try to do a low-level trade deal, but do something to help out there, because I think that could provide more capital into our country, too. The migrant crisis is one of the reasons behind the destabilization of Sordland. I would like to point out that it was due to Wayland. If we go forward with the deal when the time comes, there's the topic of immigration. Victor Smolak is a known isolationist. Our promise to tighten our immigration policy will increase the likelihood of the deal. He believes our borders need better security. Okay, Lucian, we heard that. I still think we should give it a try. Tell me about Agnolia. First off, the reason behind this option is more diplomatic than economic. Although, of course, we can't forgo the added economic value. Agnolia is an old ally and a valuable trade partner. The point we are at with the early negotiations is around the steel trade. They are demanding that we buy their steel for a higher price. That's because they think the deal is far too unbalanced as it is. Their second main demand is privileged access to our agricultural market. If we are to fill their demands, in turn they are offering a full alliance with Sordland against Rumburg. Ooh, that's a difficult one. Looking at the current advances of Rumburg near our borders, having a coalition would prove extremely useful. Okay, Yosef, we get it. You want to go to war with them. This guy just doesn't back down with this whole thing. Obviously, there will be consequences for entering a full alliance. Mainly the issue is around Hjelland, Valgsland, and... Valgsland has clear intentions on taking over the island, one way or another, and entering a military alliance with Agnolia will make them furious. I want to state my support for the decision to stick... Okay, no, I'm not even listening to Yosef. Might have some good points, but this guy's already pissed me off before when he brought up that whole refugee thing. There are obviously subjects we would still need to tackle, like our economies, the trade of goods, and what to do with immigration. My opinion is that it's a good deal and we should go for it. The new Agnolian Prime Minister is trying to improve the existing relationship. The downside is that we would need to make concessions a reality of any trade deal. I would be open to creating a new agreement. I don't want to give any concessions. We can't position ourselves against Valgsland. I'm going to say that there, especially as much as Yosef has been kind of pissing me off, he does have a point about I feel like Agnolia is going to be, or not Agnolia, what's it called? Rumburg is going to probably try to play something down the road, and I feel like maintaining good relations with Agnolia is going to be important there. So, I'm going to say creating a new agreement. That will be the best outcome. If you decide that Agnolia is a good option, another point is that they have a very democratic system. After the recent elections, the PM has a mandate to arrange a fairer deal with us. Martin Van Horten is also an avid supporter of relaxed immigration. Since we said we will tighten immigration, he might be reluctant. Starting the highway construction in Angland plays a part too. Regardless, if we were going to increase our regional influence, we might need to make amends with our neighbors. Ultimately, the decision will be up to you. Our campaign promised to steer Sordland towards the west, and Arcasia will have an effect on the negotiations, especially with Wayland. As you know, the current affairs are primarily a result of United Cantana's support. This will be a problem, but worth trying. As for Agnolia, the promises made them cautious, which might make it harder to get a good deal. We also need to consider the effects of our economic doctrine plan. I'm sorry, this is kind of dragging on for a while. I'm kind of still struggling to kind of follow this at this point. I'm really kind of struggling to say who's who, and there's so many different countries here. So I knew this one would be like an introduction to the whole like international aspect, but I'm like really kind of getting lost in who's who in all these different countries. Good negotiations optimize the interests, which make the differences become trivial, allowing both sides to reach a deal. Well put, Petter. Very true, Mr. Vector, and we have a lot of time to prepare before the scheduled visits to Wayland and Agnolia. I believe this gives a brief overview of our... That's not brief at all there, David, but thank you for the time. Our trade delegation will begin work towards the end of the year. We expect final negotiations and the signing of the trade agreements to happen next year. I'm very much looking forward to visiting Stalport and Rocklovitz with party animals like David and Simon, haha. Petter laughed. Yosef narrowed his eyes and stared at him. I'd like to know more about Rizia. I don't need to... See, I kind of want to, like, learn more about it, but I'm honestly getting, like, a little... this is getting too much. I'm struggling to, you know... struggling to even really follow what's going on. Let's discuss the deal potential and what's on the table. From what we've gathered, there's no clear offer yet. The interest clearly seems to be more control over the gas produced and sold in Sordland. I expect this might be related to the recent tensions on the coast of Pales. Mr. Manger's working on the details to get more concrete headline terms soon. A particular interest are the gas fields in the Narble area of the Nargis region. Where? The Grand Duchy... Oh, it's on the... Where's this again? I'm sorry, I'm really having trouble following where these different places are. So this must be related to the Gassam operations, Gus's ties. Gassam is a private company, the fact that limits our control. I really have no idea where we're going at. I wish I could just like end this here. I'm kind of a... Good thing we handled the transfer of power from the party diplomatically. I'm sure we... So wait, are they saying... Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out where, I'm still really confused, like, how we got to this whole thing after talking about these other ones. So Gassam is a private corporation, a fact that limits our control over any foreign investment. What's Gassam, by the way? Oh, they're a Swordfish Energy Company, okay. So Tarkin Soul's Energy Protection Act limits the power of purchase of Swordfish Energy Company shares by 4 nations to 10%. Okay, so we can't sell too much foreign stuff here, so... Ewald Alfonso adjusted this and increased it up to 20%. Anything above that requires us to change the Energy Protection Act. Ewald holds most of Gassam's cards in his hand still. I see this as a strong case for Tarkin Soul's regulation. Gassam is private, but still sells most of the gas it produces to Sordland. Good thing we handled the transfer of power within the party diplomatically. I'm gonna just say that there. I think so, yes. Up to 70% goes to Sordland. This used to be higher, but the international demand has seen Gassam diversify its deliveries outward. Rumburg and Lesby are increasing the demand each year. They have hungry industries waiting to be fulfilled. Fueling the Rumburg war machine is indisputably... Okay, Yosef, we get it. Lucian pulled out a pen, took a few notes. See, I could see that. I mean, if it gives the option, I could see that also being, like, a card to play against Rumberg. If, you know, we control a bunch of their, energy imports there, I think, you know, that gives us a chance to cut that off and potentially pose a threat to them. From our diplomatic channels, we can tell that Lesbia is still very interested in Swordish petrol, whereas Rumberg wants more gas resources. As a sovereign nation, we must... Okay, I get it, Yosef. Allowing more market economies to determine the value and output of our energy is aligned with our economic plan. We should protect our energy independence, but we don't know the offer specifics yet. As long as we can improve our economy and resource extraction, we shouldn't care much. I'm gonna say that second one there. I agree, but Gassam is a private corporation. Okay. If Rizia wants to buy more than 20% of the shares allowed by the protectionism laws, then the government can step in. Precisely, but we don't know if this will be the case. There is a scenario in which they might invest with the EPA limitations. We just have to hear more before weighing the options. They never revealed much about their involvement to me, but I always had the feeling that Alfonso's crew is more linked to Gassam than they seemed. I have information that the CEO that replaced Alfonso was a loyalist. Alfonso's still the chairman of Gassam. The power structure behind the scenes shouldn't matter to us. Affluent swords don't stray far from each other. The shareholder links raise questions regarding Alfonso and Manger's motivations. You know, I'm just going to say the power structure behind the scenes shouldn't matter. We're in a much stronger position to negotiate either way. Lucian's informants give us extra edge in talks. Any further comments? The room went silent and no one stepped forward. It was noticeable how many people respected Wishy. He carried the soul of Sordland as a symbol of the past. I think this summarizes all we know and what we stand to gain, Mr. President. What are your thoughts? I look favorably towards a potential investment from Rizia. I'll have to wait and hear more from Mr. Manger. I'm still confused what Rizia, like, where this even came in. I'm just gonna say that. There's a strong potential for further cooperation. Rizia previously aided Sordland when it needed foreign help the most. I would where is Rizia, by the way? Semi-constitutional monarchy, eastern coast of South Marcopus Peninsula. I didn't even notice where we got into this whole Rizia thing. So we're talking about all these other countries, and then suddenly Rizia got thrown in. I will assist in analyzing the political implications. Thank you. Our support staff and I will be working towards the next step soon and after receiving more context from Mr. Manger. Our ambassador in Porte Drazon is in communication with Lorenzo Escobar, the region counselor for foreign affairs already. I don't need any more further information. I'm kind of done with this, to be honest. This is really kind of a lot for me to grasp here. I'm sure it'll be revisited at some point. Of course. Well, that concludes our meeting. Thank you all for coming. I will take my leave then. Our diplomatic action plan had officially begun. Oh, there's Rizia here. Is that the one? I'm trying. So either way, yeah. Sorry, guys. That was. Oh no, it's Lesbia is the one that's that is you know, their top ally here. So yeah, sorry guys. I started getting very lost. That one dragged on a lot longer than I thought it would be there, and I got kind of lost in all the different countries, remembering who's what, who's friends, who's enemies, so on there. So I'm sure it'll you know, definitely come into play more down the road, and hopefully I didn't mess something up then. But you know, that's just part of the game then. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. For those who stuck with me to the end, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 15 coming up